Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US and UK urge citizens to leave Lebanon immediately amid soaring tensions in West Asia. Israel's Iron Dome defense system intercepts barrage of rockets fired from Lebanon into Israel early on Sunday. Renewed rioting sweeps British cities following the murder of 3 young girls in northwest England. Thousands rally in Venezuela opposing Nicolas Maduro's poll victory claims. Opposition leader Maria Corina joins protesters. At Paris Olympics, Indian hockey team to clash with Britain in the quarterfinal, while shuttler Lakshya Sen will battle it out in the semi-finals. Amidst the growing tensions in West Asia, the United States and United Kingdom issued warnings to citizens in Lebanon to leave the country immediately on Saturday. The U.S. Embassy in Beirut has urged its citizens to leave Lebanon on any ticket available, whereas giving similar warning, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy said that the regional situation could deteriorate rapidly. The recent unrest was triggered by the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh on Wednesday and killing of Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr in Beirut. It is feared that the terror group Hezbollah could play a heavy role in any such retaliation, which in turn could spark a serious Israeli response. As tensions continue to rise in West Asia, Israel's Iron Dome missiles defense system went into action early on Sunday, intercepting a barrage of rockets. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden expressed hope that Iran would stand down, despite its threat to avenge the assassination of Hamas's leader in Tehran, as fears mounted that Israel's war against Palestinian militants in Gaza could escalate into a wider Middle East conflict. Haniyeh's death was one in a series of killings of senior Hamas figures as the Gaza war nears its 11th month, and it fueled concern that the conflict in Gaza was turning into a wider Middle East war. Hamas said it had begun a broad consultation process to choose a new leader. Seeking to bolster defense in the Middle East in response to threats from Israel's foes, the Pentagon said on Friday that it would deploy additional fighter jets and Navy warships to the region. Far-right activists and anti-racism groups continued clashes in cities across the United Kingdom on Saturday following a stabbing attack at a dance class in northwest England last week, which resulted in 3 young girls being killed and several others injured. False claims that the teenage suspect in the attack is a radical Muslim migrant has intensified the tensions, leading to confrontation between anti-immigration groups and police. Despite a court order lifting the suspect's anonymity to address misinformation, unrest persists across the nation. In Stoke-on-Trent, bricks were thrown at officers, and in Hull, windows of a hotel housing migrants were smashed. In Liverpool, a police officer was kicked off his motorbike. Scuffles were also reported in Belfast, Manchester and Nottingham. Some 2,000 people had been detained in connection with crimes during protests over the controversial results of the presidential elections. During a rally in Caracas, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro pledged maximum punishment and accused the detainees of committing serious offences. Venezuela's electoral authority proclaimed Maduro the winner in last Sunday's vote. The published election results sparked widespread allegations of fraud and protests. Subsequently, security forces cracked down on protests, which Maduro's government labelled as part of an attempted US-backed coup. Presidents of Brazil, Mexico and Colombia called for Venezuela to release detailed voting tallies amid the dispute over presidential election results. Venezuela opposition leader Maria Corina joined her supporters protesting on the streets of Caracas. Supporters were happy to see her in the streets after the leader said in a Thursday op-ed for a Wall Street Journal that she was in hiding and feared for her life. In addition to Caracas, demonstrations took place in cities including Valencia, Maracaibo and San Cristobal. Marches backing Maduro were expected to begin later, yet some of his supporters were already on the streets. Venezuelans across Latin America took to the streets on Saturday to protest and demand transparency and justice in their home country's recent election results. In Buenos Aires, Argentina's capital, demonstrators gathered at Obelisk Monument, waving flags and singing the national anthem. In Mexico City, protesters rallied at Simon Bolivar's monument to protest against the election of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The Venezuelan community in Bogota, Colombia's capital, protested at Simon Bolivar Square, chanting slogans and calling for international intervention to safeguard democracy in Venezuela. Also in Peru, attendees prayed and said that they were defending their votes outside the Venezuelan embassy in Lima. The Venezuelan community across Latin America has grown significantly in recent years, with many fleeing economic crisis and political instability. Hundreds of Venezuelans living in Madrid gathered at Puerta del Sol Square on Saturday to voice their support for opposition leaders protesting in Caracas in Venezuela. The demonstration in Madrid mirrored a protest called by opposition leaders in Caracas on the same day. Venezuelans around the world have been expressing their discontent following the election held last Sunday, which in fact declared Nicolas Maduro as the winner. Russian authorities reported intercepting dozens of drones over several regions. In Kyiv, officials say that Ukraine carried out attacks on a number of military targets in Russia, including an airfield and oil depot, including in Belgorod, Kursk and Rostov regions. All that comes as Moscow insists its readiness for a peaceful settlement of the conflict. Dasha Charnishova is in Moscow with more.
With fighting ongoing in Ukraine, Moscow reiterates its openness to the negotiated settlement of the conflict. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said talks are a preferred way of settling down this conflict. And even though Moscow doubts the legitimacy of the Ukrainian authorities, Russia says it can find those whom to negotiate with. Peskov also said that the conflict is very complex, though its roots are clear to Moscow. It says the West tried to establish what Moscow describes the concentration of anti-Russian forces by the Russian borders. Russian Foreign Ministry also said that Moscow is willing to cooperate with all parties seeking to help to resolve the conflict. But Moscow says the goals of its operation will have to be achieved one way or another, and Russian concerns should be taken into account. In the meantime, Russian Defense Ministry says its forces have captured 5 settlements in the Donetsk region over the past week. On Saturday, Russian air defense systems destroyed at least 75 Ukrainian drones in several regions, including in Belgrade, Kursk and Rostov. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova also said that Ukraine's threats to blow up the Crimean Bridge may be a part of the U.S. presidential election campaign. Dasha Charnishova reported in Moscow for DD India.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has offered humanitarian aid to North Korea, which has been hit by heavy rainfall and floods. According to North Korea's state media, Putin displayed his willingness to provide immediate humanitarian support for recovery from the flood damage. Kim thanked the offer but said since his government has already taken measures to conduct recovery work, he would ask for help if aid is necessary. Heavy rains have plummeled the northwestern area in recent days, flooding more than 4,000 homes and isolating some 5,000 residents. Kim personally inspected the affected areas and oversaw rescue efforts. In Bangladesh, the coordinators of the anti-discrimination student movement on Saturday announced their one-point demand after seeking resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and her cabinet members. Nahid Islam, Sargis Alam and other coordinators of the Quota Reform movement announced it at a massive rally at Central Shahid Minar in Dhaka on Saturday evening. They also said that they will enforce the non-cooperation movement starting from Sunday. The announcement came after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina called upon the agitating students to sit with her at Gono Babhan to end the violence centering the quota reform protest. They also gave a 24-hour ultimatum to the government to reopen all university halls for the students. On Saturday, protesters took out rallies and processions responding to calls for demonstrations given by anti-discrimination student movement in almost all major cities and towns of Bangladesh. An outbreak of monkeypox in the Democratic Republic of Congo is raising concerns about the spread of the virus globally. Health officials in Central African country are struggling to contain the new strain of the disease. The Congolese government recently approved the use of 2 Mpox vaccines to try and stop the spread of the disease that was previously known as monkeypox. Chris Ochamringa has more from Kinshasa.
Health workers in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo detected a new strain of the Mpox virus that is spreading rapidly in the region. The strain, known as Clade 1b, is reported to be deadlier than previous ones. Authorities fear the disease is spreading because many people are not seeking treatment.
The situation is very bad. We had expected to contain the disease by now, but it has continued spreading. One of the major reasons is that people are running away from us. They prefer getting treated by traditional doctors.
The DRC government recently approved the use of 2 Mpox vaccines to curb the spread of the disease, which has claimed more than 400 lives since the start of this year. 8,000 doses are expected in the country in September.
The only way of preventing the spread of Mpox is through vaccination. We are happy that our government authorized the use of vaccines in June. We have 2 vaccines that have been approved for people to use.
Mpox is a viral infection that spreads through close contact with infected people or wild animals. The disease is common in the forested areas of Central and West Africa. In 2022, a global outbreak of the disease affected more than 100 countries. The first human case of Mpox was discovered in the DRC in 1970. The viral infection has continued claiming lives in many remote areas of the country because health facilities do not have testing kits. The situation has been made worse by the refusal of some patients to seek medical care. Chris Ochamringa in Kinshasa, reporting for DD India.
A famine-stricken camp in Sudan's conflict-torn Darfur region is facing a significant new influx of displaced people, while floods threaten to contaminate water and sanitation facilities. The displaced living in camp grapple with lavatory issues, raising the risk of cholera and other diseases in an area already facing extreme levels of malnutrition. The camp, hosting about 50,000 people, has become more crowded as people have fled recent fighting between Sudan's army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, which broke out in April 2023. The analyzed by the researchers show brown floodwater submerging outdoor toilets and areas where people queue for water. Florida faces a significant weather system that could become a tropical storm this weekend, dumping up to 30 centimeters of rain and bringing winds of over 70 meters per hour. A tropical storm warning is in effect for extreme southern Florida and stretching as far north as the Fort Myers area. The storm expected to hit the Peninsula State's west coast by Saturday night. Powerful ocean surges are forecast for Bonita Beach northwards that could bring powerful sea waves further inland than normal. More than 6,000 firefighters in California's Central Valley continue to battle the largest blaze in the U.S. on Saturday, which burned its way into the history books as the state's 4th largest conflagration on record. Thousands of firefighters battled to douse the massive park fire, but the blaze that has already destroyed more than 100 structures since it began 5 days ago continues to grow. The fire rapidly grew, doubling in size from Friday to Sunday. About 4,800 firefighters were building and strengthening control lines on Monday, hoping to increase the 12% they had contained. Firefighters were deployed in eastern Bolivia to extinguish rampant fires that have plagued Santa Cruz region in recent weeks. A total of 17,000 fire points have been tracked since January through July. the most ever seen in that period in the country. Bolivia is grappling with record number of fires in the first 7 months of the year. The flames sent villagers fleeing, killed wildfire, and also charred the landscape. Large fire blazing next to a main road as thick plumes of smoke rose from the shrubbery. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. In sunny California, a unique and delightful spectacle took place annually as dogs and their owners hit the waves in a dog surfing competition. Now, this event, often held at beaches like Huntington Beach, showcases the talent of the canines riding surfboards accompanied by their human companions. It's a celebration of surf culture and the bond between pets and their owners, attracting crowds of spectators and participants from all over. The rise of artificial intelligence in music creation has led to a series of legal battles that are shaping the future of copyright law. Music labels and artists are increasingly suing or threatening legal action against companies that use AI to generate music, alleging that these systems infringe on copyrights by copying elements of existing songs or by protected content to train their algorithms. Up next, we're heading for a short break, but after the break, Indian Air Force has launched intense relief and rescue operations with advanced radars and drones, even as Wayanad continues to reel under flood fury. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hails the transformation of India from a food deficit to a food surplus country at the 32nd International Conference of Agricultural Economists. Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. Let's get to more updates. The Indian Air Force has launched relief and rescue operations simultaneously in South India's Wayanad and North India's Kedarnath for the 4th day. IF contingent has been deployed at Calicut Airport towards HADR in Wayanad, Kerala, following the devastating landslide. On Sunday morning, IAF rescue team launched an ALH helicopter to rescue 2 stranded survivors from base of Suchipara waterfalls near Churalmala village in Wayanad in Kerala. The IAF pilots and crew, even under extremely challenging conditions of terrain and weather, carried out the rescue operations, thus displaying IAF's commitment to aid in saving human lives in times of need. Further, 4 RICO radars and 1 Zawer radar were flown in and AN-32 to Calicut to aid in search and locating survivors buried under soil and debris. Meanwhile, in the North Indian state of Uttarakhand, the Indian Air Force helicopters Mi-17V5 and Chinook navigate the challenging weather in Uttarakhand hills. Despite the inclement conditions, IF helicopters have transported 1 ton of load, evacuated 3 patients requiring oxygen, and safely recovered 43 passengers, including women and children. India braces for monsoon season as moderate to heavy rains shower many parts of the country. Heavy rains batter many parts of Maharashtra as the Met Department had issued a red alert for extremely heavy rainfall in Maharashtra on Friday. Also, the IMD has warned of very heavy rains in various regions across the country, including Himachal Pradesh, Kerala and Uttarakhand. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has hailed remarkable transformation of India from a food deficit to a food surplus country. He projected India's role in ensuring global food security. He was addressing the 32nd edition of International Conference of Agricultural Economists. The conference aims to tackle the pressing need for sustainable agriculture in the face of global challenges.
India is hosting the 32nd edition of International Conference of Agricultural Economists. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the conference on Saturday in New Delhi. The theme for the conference is Transformation Towards Sustainable Agri-Food Systems. In his address, Prime Minister Modi hailed India's food security system.
आज भारत एक फूड सरप्लस देश है। आज भारत दूध, दाल और मसालों का सबसे बड़ा प्रोड्यूसर है। भारत फूड ग्रेन, फ्रूट्स, वेजिटेबल, कॉटन, शुगर, टी, फ्रेम्ड फिश, इनका दूसरा सबसे बड़ा प्रोड्यूसर है। एक वो समय था जब भारत की फूड सिक्योरिटी दुनिया की चिंता का विषय था। एक आज का समय है जब भारत ग्लोबल फूड सिक्योरिटी, ग्लोबल न्यूट्रिशन सिक्योरिटी, इसके सॉल्यूशन देने में जुटा है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also talked about how his government is creating a farmer-friendly ecosystem.
इस साल के बजट में भी बहुत बड़ा फोकस सस्टेनेबल फार्मिंग और क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट फार्मिंग पर है। हम अपने किसानों को सपोर्ट करने के लिए एक पूरा इकोसिस्टम डेवलप कर रहे हैं। भारत का बहुत जोर क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट क्रॉप से जुड़ी रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट पर है।
The conference aims to tackle the pressing need for sustainable agriculture in the face of global challenges such as climate change, natural resource degradation, rising production costs and conflicts.
I was really impressed by the Prime Minister's talk today. First of all, coming and supporting a group of agricultural economists from all over the world, but I think it just showcased to me the strong role that the current Indian government places on supporting transformation of agriculture food systems.
This conference is particularly significant because it is held in India. So I think India could show the world how the agriculture and food system can be transformed to improve everybody's food security and nutrition.
The ICAE is being held in India after 65 years. The conference is witnessing participation of around 1,000 delegates from 75 countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted India's growing role in ensuring global food security. The experts at the conference will now deliberate tangible ways to make the future of agriculture sustainable. With camera person Aniket, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Delhi.
A very well-known Indian classical dancer, Yamini Krishnamurthy, passed away at Apollo Hospital in New Delhi on Saturday. She was born on December 20, 1940 in Andhra Pradesh's Chittor district. 83 years old, Krishnamurthy had received the Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan. She was also conferred with Sangeet Natak Akademi Award in 1977. All right, let's talk of updates from Paris Olympics now. And day 9 of the Paris Olympics is set to be an exciting day for Indian athletics. The Indian men's hockey team will take on Britain in the quarterfinals, while shuttler Lakshya Sen and boxer Lovelina Borgohain will be on the cusp of winning medals. In shooting, Vijay Veer Sidhu and Anish Bhamwala will try to qualify. DD India's correspondent Narayan Singh has more on this.
Now let's take a look what's in store for Indian contingent on day 9 in Paris Games. First, talk about shooting. In 25-meter rapid-fire pistol men's qualification, Vijay Veer Sidhu and Anish Bhamwala will be there. And speeds women qualification day 2, Maheshwari Chauhan and Raza Dillo will be there. In golf, men's individual stroke play round 4, Shubhankar and Gaganjeet Bhullar will be there on golf course. Talking about hockey, India will face Britain. And if you talk about women's 300-meter steeplechase, in heat 1, Pawel Chaudhary will be there. In men's long jump, in Group B, Jaswin Elrin will be there. Talking about boxing, in the women's 75 kg quarterfinal, Lovelina Borgohain will face Chinese boxer. In badminton, in men's singles, Lakshya Sen will face world number 2 Victor Axelsen of Denmark. In sailing, in men's dinghy race 7 and 8, Vishnu will be there. In women's event, Netra Kumaran will be there. So it was a wrap of what will happen, what is the schedule of Indian contingent on day 9 at the Paris Olympics.
And India's Nishant Dev fell short of an Olympic medal after his campaign ended in the quarterfinal of the men's 71 kg Paris Olympics boxing competition in the early hours on Sunday. The unseeded Indian boxer, making his debut at the Summer Games, lost to Mexico's second-seeded Marco Verde by a 4-1 split decision. A victory in his bout would have assured a medal for Nishant, as the 2 bronze medals are awarded in Olympic boxing to the losing semi-finalists. 4 of the 5 judges ruled Nishant Dev to be ahead at the end of the opening 3 minutes, but his opponent turned the bout around in the next 2 rounds as fatigue overtook the Indian boxer. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the respective QR codes on your screens. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.